Hi everyone, how are you doing today? I hope you had a wonderful week and were able to enjoy the beautiful weather that God has given us. Today is our fourth week in our Lent study. And so far we've talked about the Christian practice of worship and the practice of listening to God, and then the practice of kindness. Well, this week we are going to discuss the Christian practice of generosity or of giving. And I have a quick song I want to teach you. The words are from Acts chapter 20, verse 35, which says, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." I think you're going to know this tune. Ready? Jesus told us it is more blessed to give than to receive. You recognize that tune? Let's sing it again. Jesus told us it is more blessed to give than to receive. Yeah, that's Twinkle Twinkle. Let's sing it one more time together. You sing it with me. Are you ready? Jesus told us it is more blessed to give than to receive. That's a real good verse to remember. And sometimes putting things to tune helps you remember them. So back to generosity and giving, right? It is more blessed to give than to receive. Well, many times when we talk about that, we're talking about giving money to the church or to a charity. But we can give other gifts too, like our time or our energy or our love. But we really can't share our gifts if we don't even know what they are. So how do we figure out what our gifts are? Well, the best way to do that is to practice being grateful. That's right. You see, if we take time to be thankful for the things that God gives us, then we'll be more aware of the gifts that we have. Then we can find ways to share them. You know, when we share our gifts, it's kind, but generosity is a little bit different than kindness. You see, when we're kind, we're really shining our love to others, right? We let them know that we're right there and we want to spend time with them or help them. But when we're generous, many times it's something we do in private. We don't necessarily tell others how much we gave or how much time we put into something. What we give and what we do is between God and ourselves. You see, Jesus tells us in Matthew chapter 6, verses 3 and 4, "But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be done in secret, and your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." You see, generosity and giving is a private thing. Giving can be a secret and special time that's just between you and God. Think about it this way. Maybe you took some time last week to color in a note card for somebody. Sharing the note card was kind, but the time you spent coloring the card, picking just the right colors, making sure you were coloring neatly, now that was generous. You didn't give the card to the person and say, "Here's a special card for you. It took me hours to make." No, you gave the card to the person to say, "Here, I made this for you because I think you're special." The time you spent coloring and planning and thinking, that was between you and God. I hope that makes sense, the difference between kindness and generosity. I have some things to show you today. Do you know what this is? Do you see it? It's a penny. Do you know how much a penny is worth? It's worth 1 cent, and it takes 100 pennies to have the same value as $1. Now, the penny has been around for a long time. In fact, pennies in the United States have been around since about 1793. But in other countries, pennies, or the 1 cent coin, have been used for over 1,000 years. But the United States pennies have changed their looks over the year. Do you know whose face is on the front of the penny? Well, since 1909, President Abraham Lincoln's head has been used on the penny. Before that, there were Native Americans or flying eagle pennies. Now, there are wheat pennies, the backs of the pennies, a long time ago, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, had pictures of wheat on the back of it. I don't know if I can quite show that to you. But these days, there are shields on the back, or we have pennies that have the Washington Monument on the back of it. Oop, that's upside down. See? And in fact, in 2009, they made a special set of pennies. There were 4 of them. I've got 2 to show you that showed different scenes in the life of Abraham Lincoln. So they look a little bit different than the other pennies do. Other things have changed about the pennies over the years too. Originally, they were a lot bigger, but a long time ago, they decided to make them smaller because people didn't want to carry around these big coins in their pockets. Also, they used to be made of copper, which is why they have this kind of reddish-brown look to them. But these days, there's not much copper in them. They're mostly made of zinc with a thin copper coating over them. Oh, you know what else is cool about the pennies? Look here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but right up top, on the very, very top, it says, right here, it says, "In God we trust." Take a look at a penny at home, and right above his head, it says, "In God we trust." How cool is that? The money that we spend every day says that we trust God. You know, a lot of people don't think that pennies have much value, and I guess 1 penny really doesn't. But let me tell you a story that Jesus told. It took place in a couple places in the Bible. They tell us the story. It is in the book of Mark and in the book of Luke. And I'm going to read it from the book of Luke, verses 1 through 4. It says, Jesus looked up and saw the rich putting gifts into an offering box. And he saw a poor widow put in 2 small copper coins. And he said, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put in more than all of them. For they all contributed out of their abundance, but she, out of her poverty, put in all she had to live on." You see, Jesus doesn't see value in things the same way we do. We see a penny and we think it's only worth 1 cent and doesn't hold much value. But Jesus sees how our hearts are and how giving is an indication of our love. There's a song that says, "Little is much when God is in it." Even giving a little, God can do a lot with it. If we give out of a sense of love, amazing things can happen. And we shouldn't give out of a sense of obligation or that we have to. In fact, the Bible tells us in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7, "Let us each one do just as he has resolved in his heart, not grudgingly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver." Again, we should give happily, not because we feel like we have to. And we don't have to give a lot of money to give a lot in God's eyes. God can do great things with a little. I have some worksheets for you. I'll leave them at the church, and I'm going to leave them with a lucky penny for each of you to remind you to trust in God and to be generous with your gifts. Let us say a quick prayer. God, thank you that we have so much to be grateful for. Help us to use our gifts, our possessions, and our time generously. Bye. I hope you have a fantastic week.